Hi, I'm Andrew Pfeiffer from Pfeiffer Law. Thanks for tuning back in as we continue the last of a three-part series on Ohio probate full administrations. In our first video, we looked at what does it look like to open an estate, to make a court aware that someone's passed, and all of the interested parties and fiduciaries and what happens there. In our second video, we covered the inventory and appraisal phase and looking at how do we get assets listed on the inventory, what are valuation processes that are commonly used, and some of the tax implications there. Today we're going to talk about the accounting phase. The accounting phase is the last phase of a full administration probate estate in Ohio. And as the name implies, we're going to take an accounting. We're going to present the court with documentation. This is still based off of a timeline. This is timeline driven. So when is the either partial account or the final and distributive account due in a full administration probate estate? And the answer is 6 months from the date of appointment of the fiduciary, whether that's the executor or the administrator, depending on whether there's a will or no will. And so ultimately, we're going to come back in this phase, and the executor or the fiduciary is often going to work with a probate attorney like myself to put together a full accounting to let all of the beneficiaries or the heirs of the estate know these are the monies or the assets that came into the estate. These are any debts that were presented or any monies that were fronted to third parties by the fiduciary or any of the heirs or beneficiaries that need to now be reimbursed. And ultimately, based off either the last will and testament or the statute of descent and distribution, this is where we are going to propose how final distributions are paid out to beneficiaries or heirs. It's important to note that if you have a surviving spouse in Ohio, they have spousal rights, and this is where a spousal election would sometimes be exercised by a surviving spouse. So this is a portion of the estate where, again, everyone who's an interested party will get an opportunity to be heard. They can file a motion with the court and request a hearing. This is where debts will be accounted for. Assets will sometimes be liquidated prior to this, and ultimately final distributions will come out of the estate, and the court will release the bond and the fiduciary and say this estate is now going to be closed. So thank you so much for sticking with me through 3 parts of a series on Ohio probate full administration.